Hey all, Al back again to try and improve on the setup of the Honeycomb quadrant throttle control with the new A380. The last two videos I tried to help to see if I could set up the controls. A couple of people said that I didn't have it set up correctly. They were correct. I didn't have the throttles sitting on the idle detent in the Honeycomb. They were sitting slightly up. The reason for that is that's the way I got the actual reverse thrusters to, you can hear them turn off there. That's the way I got them to turn off. If I actually set the idle as being slightly above the detent on the Honeycomb. But of course that didn't work because you want, when you're flying, you want to be able to have the controls down on the detent when you want to go into idle. But as you can hear, when I put it back down in idle, and if we look outside quickly, engine 2 is now in reverse, not in idle. So to correct this, I looked up another few videos and I actually seen where same hanger set up a few more controls to help with the reverse thrust on the A320. So what we can do to try, now this is not going to be perfect, so nobody freak out and say, you're completely wrong. I'm just trying to help people out here, trying to help myself out as well. What we're going to do is we're going to set a decreased throttle and whole throttle reverse thrust to see if that can help us as well to get as close as possible to the correct setup for the A380 on the Honeycomb. But to do that, you just go into control options, last two videos I set up a profile for the A380 and the power management throttles were all set up for the 4 throttles. So axis 1, if you see on here, axis 1 was set to throttle 1, throttle 2 was the second one, the Honeycomb, throttle 3 was the third one, and throttle 4 was the fourth one. To add on to that, what we're going to do is we're going to add on whole throttle reverse thrust and decreased throttle. So to do that, we just set the filter to all, scroll down through the throttle controls, throttle 1, we're looking for hold throttle reverse thrust. I'm going to set that to joystick button 10 and 11 on the Honeycomb. Click on that, click on start scanning, look at my Honeycomb. So it is the little reverse thruster. If you pull it on back 1 on throttle 2, it'll give you button 10. Pull back on throttle 3, it'll give you button 11. Push them back again to the original. Click on validate. Now got joystick button 10 and 11 linked to whole throttle reverse thrust. The next one we need to do is decrease throttle. We need to set that, so if you scroll down, decrease throttle, I'm going to select that, start scanning, look at my Honeycomb again. Again, we're going to go with the little throttle decrease on throttle 1. Didn't do it. Okay, maybe I'm not scanning. Scanning now. So if you see, that's button 10, button 11, and then we're going to push the, you can ignore the alert on it because we've already used it on another controller. We're going to push throttle 2 completely down, to give you joystick button 26, and throttle 3 completely down to give you joystick button 27. Click validate on that. You bring them back up again, sorry, to the original, and 3 back up. Joystick 11 back to its original, joystick 10, then validate. Now we've got decreased throttle set to joystick button 10, joystick button 11, joystick button 26 and 27. Now we've got whole throttle reverse, joystick 10 and 11. Apply that, and we go back to the plane. Okay, now that we're back in the plane again, we need to configure throttle controls in the A380 to the throttle controls on our Honeycomb. At the moment, they're all sitting on idle detent, all 4 throttle controls. So to see, the minute I touched it, it just went into reverse, but we can ignore that for a second. What we need to do is, they're all sitting on idle. We need to go to the iPad, go to settings, sim options, calibrate. What I normally do to make sure everything is default as it was when you installed the 380, I normally reset to defaults, firm, also click save and apply. And to be doubly sure, I go from 1 to 4. Probably don't need to do all that, but I do. So now that I know that you can hear the reverse thruster stopped, know that the throttle controls are all sitting on idle on the Honeycomb, you can set from throttle, set from throttle, set from throttle, set from throttle, apply. That should be your idle setting. Go back to look, it's set to idle, and it's set to idle on the Honeycomb as well. Next one we can set back here is we can set the back to the iPad and set the climb setting. On the iPad, click on climb, jump back to the throttle controls. You can increase all throttle controls up to climb. You should see it move there. Hear the little click. That's now climb, so we jump back to the iPad again. We know that number 1 is set perfectly because we can see it on the little control. You can set the throttle. That's 0.5. We can actually adjust number 2 so that it matches number 1. Set to throttle. Need a little adjustment up and down, 0.5. There it is. We can get them all to 0.5. The little adjustment. And down a bit. Probably be quicker at it than me. 0.5. Set throttle 3. 4 is already at 0.5, so we set from throttle. Apply. That is now our climb set, and set on the Honeycomb, and also jump over to the throttle, set on the throttle in the plane. Next one we're going to set to is flex, so we go back to iPad, click on flex, jump back to the throttle control. Again, we'll do number 1 that we know is here is flex. You can hear the little click. Bring up the other ones to near enough. We'll match them all up in the iPad in a second. Go back to the iPad again. 0.46, set throttle. 0.46, set from throttle. 0.45, can increase that one a little bit on, they're all matching. Set from throttle. The same with this, number 4. Slightly, just a little bit. You go. Set from throttle. Got them all set from 0.46 on the flex. Apply that. Click on Toga. Jump back to the throttle control. Push the throttle controls on the honeycomb all the way up to the very top. All of them. Hear the little buzzer going. Come back to the iPad again. It should be all 0.95. So the error. Set from throttle. Set from throttle. Set from throttle. Set from throttle. Just make sure you have clicked them all. Click apply. We now know that. Jump back to the throttle plane. If we bring it back down to idle, as I say, don't worry about the reverse thruster. You can hear it at the minute. When you bring it to idle, it switches straight on to reverse thruster. So that's idle. Up to climb. Up to flex. And then up to Toga. So we've got them all working there. Back down to throttle again. The next thing we need to do is we need to do reverse thruster. If we go back to the iPad again, once again. Reverse idle, I've had a problem trying to set that, because if I try and set that, it just comes up with an error message. So there's no way I can do the reverse thrust or the reverse idle at the moment. Maybe when the A380 is updated more, we might be able to do that. But for the moment, I'm ignoring that. If anybody can get that working, I'd be delighted if you drop a link in the comments below. So to get the reverse, full reverse, what you do is click on full reverse button here on the iPad. 2 and 3 are the reverse engines to work on it. Bring them right down to the end. Can't go any further. Click set from throttle, set from throttle, and apply. Now what you will notice, I'm not no A380 pilot, I'm sure that when you bring it back up to idle, at the moment, if we take a look outside, you'll see it's on reverse, full reverse. This animation doesn't work at the moment. They know about that, the developers. So, if you can see me on my honeycomb, if I bring it back up to idle, the reverse thruster is still going. If we look outside, you can hear it and you can see it. What we can do, if you look at the honeycomb again, is we'll use the 2 little reverse thrust controllers, I don't know what they're called. If you actually pull those back and push them forward, the reverse thrust turns off. You take a look outside. So the reverse thrust is off. So on the Honeycomb, those two little handles actually, when you bring it up to idle, turns off the reverse thrusters. I've also noticed that when you're coming down from climb or tug or anything like that, back down to reverse, down to idle, see, as soon as I get to idle, the reverse thrusters come on. To turn them off, you can simply just press those two. You'll hear the reverse thrusters going off. The good thing is, with those two little reverse thruster controls that we set up, when you push 2 and 3 down, you don't hear the reverse thrusters on. That's because I haven't activated it with the two little handles. Bring it back up to idle. Fortunately, it'll kick in now. Actually, no, it won't kick in. That's okay. To get reverse thruster to work from idle, activate the two little reverse thruster handles. Now push it down. There's reverse thruster is kicked in. Have a look outside. The reverse thruster is kicked in. If I bring the handles back up to idle, you'll see the reverse thruster is still on, hasn't turned off. Push the two little handles, turns the reverse thruster off. Once again, from idle down to reverse thruster. You can see me pushing it down to the very end, it doesn't come on. Bring it back up to idle again. Pull the two little handles, two reverse thruster handles on 2 and 3. Bring it back down. Reverse thruster comes on. Again, back up to idle. Push the two little handles. Reverse thruster's off. So that is as close as I can get it. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. Again, I'm no A380 pilot. Don't know if that's the correct way to have it. Don't know if the A380 developers are going to fix it so that you don't have to use those, but right now those are working, and that is from me adding in the old thrust, reverse thrust, and the decreased thrust to button old thrust, reverse thrust to button. Just bring it up again quickly. Power management. So hold thrust, reverse thrust is to button 10 and 11, which is 10 and 11, and the decrease throttle is to 10 and 11 and 2 and 3 fully down. So hopefully that has helped a few people who are having issues with the controls for the Honeycomb and the reverse thrust on it. Again, if anybody out there has a better setup than this, please drop a link into the comments, and we will update it to a better version. And hopefully, again, I hope that that has helped, and that's all I really want to do, is just help people out there in the Semin community. My setup is my setup, and it is not the end and be all. It's not. I'm not saying it's 100% correct. Just saying that it works for me. Please don't get annoyed if it isn't the correct way it should be done. But right now, that's given me all of the the thrust controls plus the reverse thrust on the A380 with the Honeycomb. So I will leave it at that. And again, any comments, if I can improve it, willing to update the video again. Hopefully it helps a couple of people out there. Okay, thanks for now. We'll talk to you later. Bye.